welcome everybody. This is David Chatham with Angel Oak Creative. Welcome to our latest episode of Talking Tough. This is a series as part of our nonprofit tough theme for 2021. We really wanted to focus on what it means to be nonprofit tough as an organization, as a community. We've had some really great guests. We're adding to that list today with Meaghan Lewis with the Cape Fear Collective. Meaghan is Director of Programs there. And just really excited. I have a little connection to Wilmington as I went to UNC Wilmington. So always great to connect with folks in the Wilmington area. So Meaghan, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, happy to be here. We appreciate the invitation. And I similarly was a Raleigh native and actually am fairly new to Wilmington. So back at you.
All right, well, good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you came to connect with the collective and then what the collective does. What is your mission there at the collective?
Yeah, sure. So, I grew up in Raleigh, graduated from Appalachian State, and spent some time with the North Carolina Chamber in Raleigh and also Duke Energy in the workforce development and education space. Upon moving to Wilmington, so I guess next month will be 2 years that I've lived here. It's gone by fast in COVID time. I actually first connected with the Wilmington Chamber of Commerce and was running their Leadership Wilmington program when I was first introduced to Patrick Bryan, our CEO. So we're a fairly new organization, Cape Fear Collective, coming up, I guess this month is kind of our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I've been with the collective full time for a year now, but was kind of contracted with them in the early days. To date, we're a team of 7, and we really have 2 kind of main focuses in our organization, which is data and capital. So my counterpart, Nick Pilipew, runs a team of 3 data scientists, and they are really focused on building really a community data platform. So we're working with anchor institutions and nonprofits alike to get real-time kind of cross-sector metrics available to the average citizen for download on our website, but also nonprofits. So to be nonprofit tough, how can we use data to kind of inform the work that each sector and each partner is doing day in and day out, and how that's really driving the needle for change. Along with the data side, I work with 2 other members of the programs team, Eileen and Kevin, to kind of implement and develop social impact investing programs. Yeah. We've started first with affordable housing, so we're happy to talk more about that, but are interested in kind of using that same model towards issues like workforce development, transportation barriers, and small business investment.
Well, yeah, affordable housing is such a important topic these days with real estate prices going through the roof. It seems like everywhere. So thank you guys for doing that hard work and helping to improve that opportunity for people seeking to just have a decent place to live. So
yeah, I mean, we hope to be at least a drop in the bucket here, but certainly can't do it without investments from Live Oak Bank and some other organizations and individuals, and then certainly partners on the ground like Habitat for Humanity, Cape Fear Land Trust, Good Shepherd Center. I mean, these are folks that are in this space day in and day out, and we're just trying to provide some capital to fill the gap.
Well, I mean, that leads right into some of our conversation about collaboration, right? So, we have identified a handful of traits of what make nonprofit tough organizations and nonprofit tough communities. One of those traits for nonprofit tough communities is that they're collaborative, right? That they work together towards a common end. They may not all have the same goals. Some may be focused on affordable housing. Some may be focused on hunger reduction. Some may be focused on suicide prevention or any other issue, drug addiction, recovery, all of those things. So, but how do we collaborate together to build a nonprofit tough community that is resilient and sustainable and impactful and effective? And I think all of the things that you just talked about, those 2 focus areas are important. Can you talk just a little bit about why the collective, maybe Brian specifically, but why did the collective identify those 2 areas as really their focal points for serving the community?
Yeah, happy to. It's actually been a pretty quick evolution that we landed on data and capital. But essentially, Cape Fear Collective was founded out of the corporate sector, honestly, with the idea that we would be a collective impact organization. So, how do we provide the backbone to support two organizations already in town on some of these larger initiatives? What we found in our first year of kind of forming the team and taking over 1,500 meetings with these community partners, New Hanover County alone is home to
So
1,100,
how many meetings did you have
1,500. And this was, gosh, we
in
had
how long a time period?
a year, our first year.
Wow.
We really hit the ground pretty quickly with a listening tour. We wanted to hear from the
Wow.
nonprofit directors themselves on the work they're doing every day and what would be helpful. Um, and
I
then
just want to make sure everybody heard that.
yeah,
That was 1,500 meetings in
yeah.
365 days.
It
And
was a legitimate exercise, like adding those up on our calendars. Those were the days of
wow,
coffees and lunches. And we
wow.
really just, yeah, we wanted to get the lay of the land before we settled on running a collective impact initiative. We wanted to know if it was needed. And really what we found is that there was a lot of collective impact already happening in our region. We have a resiliency task force, we have a disaster coalition, we have these pockets of organizations that are already really strongly partnered and driving home change and across sectors. And so in those 1,500 meetings, we didn't hear a call for a collective impact organization or a backbone organization, but we did hear a need for, we need data. We don't understand necessarily how our program here in housing is impacting, education outcomes at the school district. Um, and kind of many examples of that. And then honestly, I mean, the need for capital was identified pretty quickly. New Hanover County has,
There's always a need for capital.
yeah, absolutely. Those in the nonprofit sector know this well, but New Hanover County has 7 to 10 times less philanthropic giving per capita than, say, a Buncombe County, which is similar
Wow.
demographics. So those were kind of two really big buckets that needed to be addressed. And so we kind of doubled down on data. Again, we have 3 data scientists on staff that are working with partner organizations on data use agreements to kind of, again, if you're going to publicly report this data anyway, how do you report it to us and have it be available, again, for the citizen or nonprofit for download and more real time, and with the context from that anchor institution that doesn't currently exist when we say scrape data from the Census Bureau or others.
Right.
Um, and soon after we kind of got rolling on data, we did launch the social impact investing platform. Again, that was kind of early 2021. So we're only kind of in our first 6 months or so of implementing programs, but this is where we started with affordable housing, and then taking the same model again into high impact education and training programs. Affordable transportation, like a lease to own option, is something we're looking at now. And really, we just continued to find, nonprofits who are doing their work every day, that car payment for their client they're serving is still such a hurdle. So how can we take new dollars, investments rather than philanthropic dollars, to help kind of fix or provide a gap filler really for some of these issues in our community?
Well, I mean, everything you just talked about, not everything, but much of what you just talked about was about collaboration, right? I mean, the idea of using data to help a housing organization understand their impact on educational attainment, right? And what does that look like? And how can they then use that data to identify potential partners with whom to collaborate to even increase the impact, the collective impact of those two organizations, to improve outcomes for the same people that they're serving, right? I mean, they're serving the same people. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's not new in the sense that it's, data's been around for a long time, but I mean, in terms of, it's certainly an innovative way to use data to be collaborative. Most people think of collaboration as a one-on-one kind of approach, whereas what you're providing is kind of the lens from which to view collaborative opportunities, right? So that data shows, hey, here's where we intersect, right? Here's the value we both bring, and here's the opportunity for us to multiply our impact by coming together and making a difference. So I love that. I mean, even your name suggests collaboration, right? I mean, the Cape Fear Collective is, just, certainly inspires people to think about how are we doing this together. What does, from your experience, what does effective collaboration look like? What would be a good example of that, within some organizations you've seen?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about like knowing our left and right limits, right? So much like when we kind of came on the scene and thought we were going to be collective impact, and quickly found out that was not the gap in our community. I think like great collaboration is not reinventing the wheel. So how far can you as an organization take a program or project and then work with an organization to get that across the finish line? I think that's a lot of what we hope we're doing, in the sense of, we're not the subject matter experts, we're not the program experts, we're not case managers by day, but really relying on folks that do that day in and day out, essentially on the front lines of this work, and then just trying to kind of backfill where we can. Back to the data point, on already thin operating budgets, right, for our nonprofits, the ability to hire a data scientist is somewhat unheard of. And we're a nonprofit that has 3. And so
data scientists aren't cheap.
They're no, and honestly, having seen their meetings and the work they do, they're well deserving of those salaries.
That's right.
I mean,
I could never do data
sometimes, but so a lot. Not only are we building this community data platform, but trying to build some data consultancy. How do we partner on projects? Like, are you curious about a certain metric, and how can we, as a collective, and then in partnership with your organization, try to really get to the bottom line of what does the data show us, and what data do we need to go get, right, to kind of prove some of these concepts, or identify some other gaps. So yeah, I think collaboration to us, again, not reinventing the wheel, not stepping on toes. How do we come in and defer to the experts in this space, but just provide some data and gaps as far as capital where needed. So we couldn't do the work we do every day without folks on the front lines. I mean, you can have all the data and capital in the world, but if you don't have someone implementing those programs and interventions, what good are we? So collaboration is top of mind for us.
Well, I know you're working with some of the folks that we're familiar with down in Wilmington, like Wilmington Area Rebuilding Ministries, or WARM. I think they're one of your, what would you call them, subscribers, I guess? Is that?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. A lot of people see our name and think we're like a membership organization. We're certainly not. Anyone's welcome to join us. Pre-COVID, we were having pretty regular community partner meetings. We'd love to bring that back. Certainly anyone can access our data once it's online. And again, we're open to any data projects or partnerships. WARM is definitely a partner of ours, much like Cape Fear Habitat for Humanity or Land Trust. I mean, again, we're not the renovation or, disaster resiliency experts, where WARM is. And so when we bought our first portfolio of homes, WARM was who we kind of called first to come in and do some safety repairs on those homes. We're having similar conversations with Habitat for Humanity about some additional renovations. Land Trust, how do we work with them, again, in their model, not reinventing the wheel, like let them do what they do every day, but we'll just kind of come in as a cash buyer and provide some of those opportunities. Because as you know, in affordable,
again, it's that
inventory challenge.
Yeah, it's that power of collaboration, right? I mean, you each bring something unique to the table, and you each offer a value that the other isn't equipped to do. And at the end of the day, it becomes something even more powerful, more productive, more effective than if you had tried to do it on your own, right? I mean, not that you couldn't get out there and swing a hammer, right, Meaghan?
Well,
you would do that.
I feel like there's enough issues in our own homes, right? Let alone a portfolio of 20 to 25. But yeah, I mean, truly, we are so thankful for our partners every day, and we're always excited to see that list like grow and continue to evolve. And how one partnership is formed, a year ago looks very different now. Just because again, we want to fill a gap, and there's certain projects that we're open to partnering on. So, and we do hope to get back to community partner meetings here soon.
Yeah, and that's another type of collaboration, right? When you're coming together and looking for opportunities, and kind of finding those accidental collisions that may not take place when you're kind of have an agenda. So it would be nice to get back to that. We can dream, right?
We can. Good to know at least the seasons. It'll be hot, but we could do it outside if we needed to in Wilmington, which is always great.
That's right.
Yeah.
Early Gardens is a good place to hang out, or yeah, exactly. The beach, I guess.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit prior to starting our conversation officially, but one of the other traits that we've identified as being part of a nonprofit tough community is that nonprofit tough communities are empowering, that they use the resources that they have to not just give charity, right? I mean, that definition of charity of just kind of giving with no maybe no strategy in mind, right? But the thing that I'm impressed with one of the things I'm impressed with the collective is that what you're using, the data, the capital, those two areas are extremely empowering for people, that they give them necessary tools, the necessary resources they need to then go on and succeed, right? It's not doing it for them. It's giving them that whether you want to call it equity, or whether you want to call it the kind of a level playing field, or at least an improved opportunity there. What does that look like from your organization standpoint, the approach that you're taking from an empowering position to be part of a nonprofit tough community that does empower those it serves?
Yeah, so we're pretty confident that data can be empowering, but again, would rely on people on the front lines, if you will, to kind of run with that data. But I will give one example. Last week, we actually had a data use agreement in front of the New Hanover County Schools Board of Education. And thankfully, whenever there's student data involved, there were some tough questions to answer about security and privacy. But thankfully, I think we got to a great place where, at a minimum, we now have an administrative framework signed with New Hanover County Schools on how to transfer data. And again, I'll make the caveat that this is publicly available data, no student identifiers. But what we presented to them, and why we were hopeful to get a data use agreement signed with New Hanover County Schools, was, student outcomes. Only so much of that can be on the shoulders of New Hanover County Schools, right? Like, what does it mean when a child is presenting to you hungry, or with severe housing problems, or even being unsheltered? And so what we really hoped for was, with this comprehensive, again, administrative framework to share data back and forth, is how do we tell the story of what is happening within New Hanover County Schools as it relates to all these other sectors? And really, as a nonprofit community, as a school district, like, rally around some of these issues and helping to support our kids kind of regardless of what barriers they're facing. And just kind of, again, I think context is empowering, right?
Yeah.
What do some of these data metrics means as it relates to some of these other sectors? And what is one program, again, I'll use that example, in housing, having an effect on, school outcomes, post-secondary attainment? And so, yeah, so working with even some statewide organizations. So we've had conversations with My Future NC about that as well. Your post-secondary attainment indicators, and the goal, what is that goal like contextualize for the Cape Fear region? And again, how are some of these other sectors either influencing that in a positive way, or we need to do some work in this sector if we're going to meet some of those attainment goals?
Right. That's great. I mean, just the opportunity, again, from the collaborative standpoint, the empowerment standpoint, just being able to bring all those resources to bear towards improving outcomes, right? One other area of collaboration we haven't touched on as much is private sector.
Mhm.
And what does that look like? You guys, I know, have great relationships, folks like Live Oak Bank and others. Uh, how important is that to really creating, again, a nonprofit tough community, that of having a successful community to be collaborative with the private sector?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical, certainly to our mission. And back to that statistic of 7 to 10 times less philanthropic giving than some similar counties. Like, we had to, at some point, you have to rely on the corporate sector to fill some of these gaps. And we were thankful that we've kind of cracked the code on nonprofit social impact investments. So these are, it opens just up another pool of dollars. These are not philanthropic dollars. These are not donations. These are actual investments where these corporations that are investing or individuals are going to get a return on their investment. That thankfully is more than kind of a savings account. So people have been kind of with us as an option to invest and get a return, but also do some real good in the community. And so we're hopeful that that kind of model is going to take off. And again, not only into other programs, so workforce development, transportation, but hopefully other regions. I mean, rural North Carolina, as you can imagine,
Yeah.
right when you get out of Wilmington, it gets very rural very quickly. And so I think this type of investment hopefully can help kind of fill a gap where there's even less philanthropic giving and opportunity in rural North Carolina. And these dollars can maybe stretch a little farther.
Yeah, and for me, what's great about that is it's a win-win for everybody, because as those the corporate organizations are, in business to be profitable, right? That as they become profitable, they're able to give more. And I think that not every business thinks that way, but I know a lot do. And folks like Live Oak and others, Angel Oak, we hope to to have that same heart that we give back 6% in time, talent, and treasure every year. And I think that is the model that we would love to see, is that we know that if we invest, I mean, Angel Oak, as only serves nonprofits. So we certainly have a vested interest in seeing a thriving nonprofit community, because that's our base of customers. So from a selfish standpoint, we want that. But the heart of organizations like ours, and I'm guessing Live Oak and others, is that if we all thrive, then we all thrive, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't do any good to try to push people down or to tear people down, because it ultimately reduces the opportunity for everybody. So I'm hoping that we can, that you guys are setting a real good example for all of that. Anything that I didn't ask you about that you want to make sure people know, either about the collective or about collaboration or empowerment?
Yeah, I think I would just say, capefearcollective.org. So back to the
Yep.
community data platform, we do hope to have version 1 of that up in the next couple months. I think as you explore the community data platform, and this is a call to anyone, and there's data you want to see, or you're curious if we have, or you have a project you'd love to work on us with us on, please reach out, info@capefearcollective.org, or there's a form on our website. Those are projects we're increasingly interested in. And then, I would be remiss if I didn't just again thank our partners in this space.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, collective isn't our name, but thankfully we have folks that are working with us and guiding us. Again, we are not the experts in all these
Collaborating with you.
spaces, absolutely. And so, yeah, so we wouldn't be where we are without them. And it's just been a really great journey over the past 2 years, back to those 1,500 meetings, to kind of see where we're at now. And hopefully we're filling a gap that's needed in our community. But, we're very much in that startup phase where if tomorrow we find out there's a different gap, we'd love to figure out and work with partners on addressing that.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the Cape Fear Collective. And just say that one more time. Where can people find out more information from you all?
Absolutely. capefearcollective.org or info@capefearcollective.org.
Right. And if they're ever down at the beach, they should look you up, and
Yes,
and when things open up, maybe stop in and collaborate over a cup of coffee. So,
absolutely. We'd love that. We're
well,
excited.
Meaghan, thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just we're excited to get back to coffees and lunches for sure.
Well, I still am amazed at 1,500 meetings in 365 days. So I would challenge anyone to top that. That's pretty impressive. So, well, thank you, Meaghan, for your time. Thank you for the collective and all that you guys are doing to make our community's nonprofit tough. And we look forward to staying in touch and talking again soon.
No, thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity as well.
Take care now. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.